I'm Chris Lee with Bruno Reagan. We are doing the post-game show as Georgia has beaten Vanderbilt 62-0 at Vanderbilt Stadium in a game that really wasn't a game for very long. It was 35-0, 12, 13 minutes in, and Georgia just kind of coasted from there. We've seen some bad ones, but this would be near the top of the list, Bruno.
Yeah, did I expect them to win? No, but 35 points in not even like just barely halfway through a quarter. Um, that's bad. And this Georgia team, I mean, it deserves its number two ranking for sure. It's probably one of the best Georgia teams I've ever seen in person. They're freaks. They look like freaks out there. So Stanford made us look small. Imagine what Georgia did to us. It was absurd. I guess just I'm sure I was hearing a bit of the Clark Lee presser, and it's just kind of they're trying not to compare themselves too much and to find that growth. But after something like this, it's hard to it's hard not to see the elephant in the room. It's just like how far you really are behind.
What is it like in a locker room after a game like that? I mean, obviously Georgia's a national title contender, light years ahead of Vanderbilt, but 62-0 is not a lot of fun. Nobody takes any solace in that. It's got to destroy confidence. I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing how a player would react, but what do you think it's like?
Well, I mean, I've been here. I've been in this type of game at home, and our junior year. If you don't like, you remember, I think we were 3-0 and just beat ranked K-State. I think that was the height of the momentum of the entire program in the Mason years, was going into that Alabama game. And I mean, that game, everyone deals with something like that their own way, but some people, it kind of reveals character. It'll show the guys who really care and the guys who don't. After games like these, I feel, I would feel sick to my stomach, but there are some guys that would go about their day normally, and that's how they deal with it, and it's just a personality thing. As long as people show up to get better afterwards, you can't really complain. But that's what this team has to try and figure out how to do. Because after that Bama loss, we were so humbled. That entire 2017 season just collapsed, and we didn't even make it to a bowl game. It's not like these guys have that expectation going. So I think you're gonna see another Colorado State game or two against one of these lesser SEC opponents coming up, just because of the sole fact these guys have nothing to lose. So there's not that added extra burden or weight or pressure. If anything, it's very little pressure to go out there and perform. They go out there and get beat 62-0, and everyone's just like, yeah, we expected this to happen. That's a different dynamic. That is strange, and it's really up to the coaches and the leaders of the team to guide this place to where they want to be. Because if you're a leader on the team, yeah, you're probably not going to make a bowl game unless a miracle happens, but you can help set up the future generations of Vanderbilt so that you can come back and hopefully one day be a proud alumni and say, hey, was my contribution like massive or noteworthy? Maybe not as much as some other people's, but I can have pride in knowing that I was a part of building this new thing.
What did you see as you watched sidelines and body language and demeanor and effort and those things? You were there today watching from the press box. I'm just curious what you picked up on in terms of those things.
They don't lose energy at any point in the game. When they make a play, I mean, they're all around each other and they're hyping each other up. But at some point, I mean, that can only take you so far too, right? Like you're down 40 something near halftime, and yeah, you have a good breakup, but it's got to start being the norm. I don't mind celebrating big plays, but we got to just find ways to be consistent with them. The energy and stuff was just when it comes to teams that are just so mismatch, it really doesn't make a factor. You could jump, scream, be as hyped as you want to. It's not really gonna do anything. And you don't win games off emotion and energy. You really win them on discipline. Energy can help. It can be a small factor, but your discipline is 90% of what's going to win you a game. And I can only speak from my personal experience, that 2016 Tennessee game, there was a lot of energy, but we were winning and we were coming back because we took that energy and we used it for our discipline. Like we were just
Mm.
playing our assignments to a T, because we wanted to win and we wanted the energy to stay. It's not like it made you run faster or hit harder or made you superhuman. It just helps reveal who you are more.
What do you make of the quarterback situation? They split reps today. Neither of them did much. I don't know how much that's on quarterbacks as much as it is on other things. They still can't block. That's been an issue. That's going to be an issue. What's your take on that?
It's tough. It's no secret, and this is from no bias, because of the site and everything. Like I think if I'm choosing a starter, I roll with Ken. Reason being was because I think Mike can make something out of nothing. So in this team situation, he might appeal to be the better quarterback. There's an argument, such a good argument for either of these guys to be the starter right now. Mike's out there literally, he's getting yards by himself. Or with 3 to 4 guys helping, and the rest of the offense might collapse, but he's out there performing and producing. But you can see where he trusts his legs a little too much, or he takes his eyes immediately off his reads, and he's just like, okay, it's run mode. He just takes massive risks. One of my gripes with him in practice was there would be like the 2-minute situations, and he would make a questionable play himself here or there, where sometimes it looks great. And that's why he's out there. He's out there taking those risks. So because he knows, he's already the backup. So he has that room for error to kind of just go out there and try and prove himself. I think Ken's much more controlled. So I think if this team was at the same talent level, or at a talent level of maybe where it was 4 to 5, or heck, in the Franklin years, you would see Ken Seals be the starter and Mike Wright. It would be the same thing. But for where the team is at now, I could see the argument for Mike Wright playing, just because he comes out here and he gives 100% effort, and yeah, he does some crazy stuff. Like he threw in a triple coverage. It had to have been 4 or 5 times today, but he's trying to put the ball in the end zone. So some people are going to see that and be like, yeah, I want that. But Ken, I think, has proved himself in practice to be the more consistent and disciplined quarterback.
We'll take some questions in a minute. We had some on the site. Before we goes into those, I called you or texted you at halftime, said, look, there's not going to be a whole lot to talk about, but one thing I want you to watch is some of the freshmen. Marlon Sewell played early. Devin Lee played early. Marcus Bradley played early. I don't know who else was out there. Is true freshman.
Spencer played a bit, 31.
Yeah, Spencer's not a true freshman. He was with the team last year,
sophomore,
but yeah, and Spencer's played in some other games. He's been getting 12, 15, maybe 20 snaps a game. But I wanted you to talk about some of the guys that were out there for the first time and just see if you took anything away from those. Because frankly, when you're on this end of these things, there's only so many ways you can go, and I'm just curious what the new guys showed.
Yeah, so Marlon Sewell looked pretty good. I mean, there's only so much. I don't think he even had I'm trying to think. I don't think he had a pass attempted towards him, but he was trusting his back pedal. He was breaking early on the runs. I mean, things you would look for in a young cat. But one of the things, Chris, is, I mean, these guys, they're getting reps, but these kind of reps, are iffy because you want to get guys game reps, but these constitute as even really, game reps. I think where you can't avoid conflict is on the D line. So we saw Marcus Bradley, I think, played for what it's worth in the time that he got. He was doing some good things. He was on the backside of Georgia's zone reads, and he would shuffle, close down exactly what you're supposed to do, force the quarterback handoff while simultaneously holding the outside. He was playing to his assignment. He looked physically okay out there for what we usually see in comparison size-wise. So he's a guy who could have a future contributing here. And yeah, I think off the top of freshman-wise, that's probably the best we got. I mean, the interior of the D-line was not having a fun day at all. It was tough to watch. I mean, I was in the press box a lot today. Yeah. It's universal. I mean, even when we're putting our threes in and their threes in, the talent gap was the same as our ones and their ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that may be the deepest team in the country. If not, it's them or Alabama. But Devin Lee played today. Marcus Bradley played today. Sewell had 4 tackles. Devin Lee had 2. Arrington Truesdale got in there too. I missed that. A linebacker who did play some in fall camp. But, I mean, look, if you'd said the guys in fall, if you'd said in August, name 10 guys who are going to hit the field, I think so far – most of the guys that we've seen take snaps on offense and defense are the ones that we would have expected. I don't know if Taco Wright got in today. He would be one guy that I would think might hit the field at some point. I know I'm leaving out another corner. House has played some, I think, on special teams. He might have gotten a defensive snap or 2. And they had another DB that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But in any case, let's just go ahead and get into the questions in the war room. I don't know where else to go with this. So Do you want to just start cycling through these?
I'll start going through it.
Okay.
Let's see. Door King, let's see what he takes. So these are questions and comments. So let's see. Door King has been consistent in posting. My take is that we were so physically outmanned on the line of scrimmage that everything else is irrelevant. However, I would like to see more Wright. I think he has more upside than Seals. And this is that thing where I think people are going to see Wright and the plays he's making, and they're going to be like, "Oh, this." I think it's a lot of, it's eye candy where it's like, like you're seeing the chains move, but I don't know if Wright's going to be the guy to consistently put 4 quarters of solid, disciplined football together and beat a team. Not to say that Ken has really earned that right that spot either. So it's as much as it sucks. I mean, it's still an open competition between those guys until someone eventually takes it or earns it. I would like to see Mike Wright stop throwing into double or triple coverage. You're not going to win games like that. But that's what the coaches are for.
Well, and to be fair, both quarterbacks have done that. But I think it's just to a point where they have little opportunity to make a play. I think you get to a point where either the pass rush is crushing in on you quickly, or it happens so much that you feel like there's probably a guy coming from the backside, and you rush things a little bit. I mean, that's just where they are. The offensive line dictates everything just about on offense, and you just cannot. I don't care who you put in there. You could put Jeremy Moose in there at this point. They'd all have the same issue. And I think if you're going to go with a passing game,
exactly.
If you're not going to totally punt on the passing game, then Ken's got to be your guy. But I don't know how you develop one with him at this point. And I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, he had 300-yard passing games as a freshman a year ago. So it's not like he's a bad quarterback. I just think the line right now implodes absolutely everything they want to do. Bruno?
I mean, the line, when it comes to one-on-one assignments, so the line had a jet protection where everybody but the left tackle had a man and they all were right. The left tackle got his man side left, and then the running back filled the hole on what I believe was a Will Fire, which is just the weak side linebacker blitzing through, and they picked up that 6-man well. When it comes down to these very basic blitzes, Vanderbilt's O-line can pick them up. Where Vanderbilt's O-line is just abysmal is the twist game. Just simple tackle, DT, E stunts, TE stunts, ETs. Like all it is I wish I can try and paint a picture for it as clearly as I can with words. Is there's a 3 technique. So there's a guy on the outside shoulder of the guard, and then there's a defensive end on the outside shoulder of the tackle. All they're doing is the 3 technique attacks the tackle's inside shoulder, and that picks the tackle, and the D end will just go all the way around. And these guys are on different levels every single time. They're really struggling with passing these things off, and it's consistent. I think Georgia watched their film and they were like, these guys, I mean, they can't pick this up, and they were just running it. The thing with the TE is it takes time to develop, but you're gonna get home. You're gonna move them off the spot, right? So you'll notice other teams, they can jam their corners up a little farther. Just try and make Vanderbilt win on the 3 to 4 second routes, and by that time, usually someone's home and in Ken or Mike's face.
Was that an issue for them as much last year? Because I don't think it was.
I don't think it was, but I don't know if other teams were really exploiting it as much on them. Um, last year was the problem with last year. The way I was looking at last year was everything was an improvement. This is kind of the second year with the same squad. So going backwards, when I'm thinking of last year, they definitely didn't have this trouble with TEs. So it's either other teams are just a lot better at exploiting it, or they're worse at it.
Mm. What have you got next from our series of questions and comments in the war room?
Let's go take a look. First of all, there's VU and GA. I did not watch the game. I recorded it. Should I watch it? Not really.
No.
Harley Hog 44 says oh never. We're gonna skip that one. These are because some people, I get it. You post out of emotion, but we're gonna try and stay. Because trust me, I'm there on Twitter posting out of emotion too. But for the sake of the show, we'll try and put some tangible like topics up. Papa Hick for VU. How many points would Georgia have scored if they hadn't put in the third and fourth string in the second quarter and their fifth string and beyond in the second half? B, had not intentionally taken as much time running the clock as possible in the second half when they're running as offense. Yeah, they were on pace for. I mean, a lot of people in the press box, Chris. The topic was, are we going to see like records being broken today?
Yeah.
That's also a little bit of the. That was a little bit of the problem with being a home game is that Georgia takes its traveling squad with them, so they can only bring 70 dress, so they can't go to their fifth or sixth string walk-ons. You're playing against Georgia's second and third string the whole time, which when we played in our second and third string, the talent gap's still the same. So I seriously thought we were going to see a 70 or 80, and not like 62-0 is better, but a lot of people are thinking like, all right, this is a record day.
Yeah. I thought that was going to be in the 70s. I mean, the second quarter was their saving grace. They scored, 3 then? And the worst thing is they got 35 in the first quarter, and if you weren't watching it, Vanderbilt got the ball first. I mean, it is terribly difficult to score 5 touchdowns in a quarter. It's really difficult if you don't have the ball to start the quarter.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like it. Baseball Bro says, does this team stay within 3 TEs of any other SEC team? Yeah, no. I think so. Listen, this team somehow. You don't think so? No. I think it happens one time, Chris, because I know humans, and I know there's humans, and I know how they operate, and I know how 20-year-old kids, dudes, what young adults operate too. One SEC team is just going to come in here, not prepare, think they can walk over willy-nilly, and Vanderbilt's going to take them to the wire. I already know it happens every year. One team is just going to come abysmally prepared, I think.
Their best chance may be Missouri. I watched Missouri today some. Their defense has been garbage the last few weeks. Now, they can score. They've got a pretty balanced offense, but that might be your chance. I mean, and we have seen that before, different coaches, both sides. But I think if you're going to call one, that to me is probably the one that's most reasonable.
Yeah. Dorking also brings up a good point in response to somebody. He says, very possible Georgia's going to blow out a lot of SEC teams. I think that's another one of the issues is we're one of the first, lower tier teams to play Georgia. I think this Georgia team is going to blow out more teams than us in the SEC East. It's not just going to be us that's a victim of Georgia.
That's a national title caliber team. I mean, yeah, it was bad, but and the thing is I think people know I follow the SEC fairly closely. You look at their tackle sheet on defense, for instance. I mean, and you can't tell by looking at that who their stars are, right? Jordan Davis might be their best player. I mean, their secondary is tremendous. Lewis Seen, their safety is really good, but I mean, they spread their stats out among 24 people, so the drop-off between 1 and 2 there is not very large. And I'll tell you what's scary. They're missing some of their best players, particularly on offense. And you talk about scoring 100. If their life depended on it and they left JT Daniels in, anyway.
Oh my God,
yeah.
They could have spanked us if they wanted to. Well, they did. They could have I don't even know. They could have hung us by the flagpole. Dorking also brings up a good point. What conclusions about the staff are reasonable to draw after this game? I think there was obviously some issues with coordinating offensively at the beginning of the season, which is they made a change. But Chris, there were some plays they're calling, and everyone in the press box was going, "What is happening right now?" Like 3rd and 15 at the beginning of the game, and they call
Oh
a
man.
gap scheme run, and then that 4th down at the end of the game, they call another run, like fourth, like it's. I don't. Is that just throwing the towel, or like we're gonna get this rep in? Like, did someone ask about that in the press conference?
I don't know. There were a couple things I wanted to ask, and I got on, and I could not get sound for 3 minutes. So I didn't ask Clark Lee anything. So if you're watching going, why didn't Chris ask? That's what happened. I didn't want to be the guy that asked something that had already been asked. But yeah, I saw that 3rd and 15 run call where somebody forgot to block a defensive tackle and Rocco Griffin. I'm just like, what? I get that you're undermanned for reasons we all know, but if that's not sending a surrender sign in the first quarter of your first drive, I mean, come on, at least try to make a play.
Yeah, it was. I mean, a lot of people, not even a lot of people, a few people. It's a very few thought process that's probably like, there's probably some underlying meaning to calling a play like that. No, we're all trying to figure it out. It really doesn't make sense why. So I think there's a judgment you can make in regards to coaching in that aspect. That's probably where we'll see some changes come the season end. Let's see. VU War says, Bruno, can you talk about player experience working with different offensive coordinators? Like, is it obvious when one guy isn't creative and the other is, or otherwise isn't as competent, however that's defined? Or are you coached to buy in whatever the cost? You're coached to buy in whatever the cost, no matter what. But I will say that we had an offensive coordinator my true freshman year, and then the rest of my career, we had another offensive coordinator. And the second one was noticeably, like when the second one came in, it was like, oh my God. Like I couldn't believe we were doing things one way when they should have been done the other the whole time. And you saw that consistently. Every single year the offense climbed and got better with that guy, with our second offense coordinator. Shout out Andy Ludwig, man. I love that guy.
Well, by the way, your head coach didn't. I don't think your head coach properly appreciated what he had with that one.
It's crazy because Coach Mason probably didn't go out and was like, "Oh, Andy Ludwig," because you don't want to say this guy's the reason, this guy's the reason. You're the head coach, so you want to try and keep some of that clout for yourself so you can get other jobs or whatever. But behind closed doors, Coach Mason knew what Ludwig was. I mean, we all did. We were like, "This guy is a genius. This guy's a genius, man." So once you see that, you understand the difference of levels in terms of coordinating. I just don't think these guys do yet. And you have that time to make those changes because the expectations are right here, Chris. They're like right here. This is where my camera's at. They're right here. They're not here. They're here. So make those changes. Find these guys who Find the Ludwigs of the world because they're out there, man. They're just itching to get a spot at a school like Vanderbilt. You can call Vanderbilt a stepping stool. Great, grab the best coaches that want to use it as a stepping stool and bring this place to another level, and then go out and get other good coaches. Good coaches want to come here and coach. You got to find it.
By the way, Connecticut is up 13-0 on Wyoming in the second quarter.
No way! What a crazy day. At least this game was at 11. I love 11 a.m. games so that I can at least watch the rest of the slate of college football games. Because staying in the press box till 1 in the morning is, it's iffy.
Give me some more.
This loss will make recruits change their mind. Yeah. Let's see. VU and GA says, do you think this loss will make recruits change their mind about coming to VU? I'm not being sarcastic. I don't think you are. Several in the sport believe recruits, no matter what they're getting into in games like this, have little effect. Well, if you're a recruit and you're committed to the school already, I can only imagine that you're committed for maybe different reasons, like personal coach relationships. Maybe you like the school, maybe you like the city, maybe you do see potential in Clark Lee and he's selling you well. If you're committed right now, this isn't new to you. You've seen this. We've all seen this for the past 3 years, right? So, yeah, if a Georgia offers one of our commits, I would obviously expect that kid to go bye-bye. But as far as the recruits we're targeting now, I really don't think it makes that big of a difference because it's who we are right now. So if you're coming here, if you're already committed and you're already interested, you're interested regardless of the score. You want that SEC prestige probably, or you want to be on this level, this platform. You want to be on this stage to prove yourself one day. I think that I'll end with this one. Was ETSU the lowest it's going to get, or was this the lowest it's going to get? When I want fans to understand, when you think about a low, right? Think of things like when you were a kid, like when you got a shot. Did getting a shot suck? That's like a bad loss, is when you were a kid getting a shot. It's over instantly. Like the ETSU loss, I woke up the next day and I went about my life. This loss, I'll wake up the next day and I'll go about my life. The problem with using the term the lowest we've ever been is I feel like we've been here consistently for 2 to 3 years now. That's the issue. And I'm just when I predicted three wins this season, that would be enough for me to go, all right, we're climbing, and then we can be out of the lowest. Not one single game. We could lose to Connecticut, and it really wouldn't be. I wouldn't go on Twitter and be like, this is the lowest. Well, maybe I would. I don't know. Well, you'd have to see. But it's just been this consistent nagging feeling of it's embarrassing. I'm a proud alma mater of the school and always will be. And there's a lot of dudes in the background too that I get so many text messages during the game from alumni who are just like, dude, what is this? They're in the woodwork. They're just waiting for it to at least look like it's coming up for a bit. So it's not like any loss is going to take it any lower. We just need 1 or 2 more wins to get it start climbing up.
They keep hitting new bottoms. I mean, 2 years ago it was UNLV, and that was about as bad as I'd seen. And then, 0 for the season, which they'd never done. Although that's got to be explained with they didn't have any out of conference games. They probably would have beaten somebody last year if they'd had a Colorado State. I think that team last year was good enough to beat somebody. To me, the ETSU game is the low water mark, and I've covered a lot of bad football, but I go to, okay, when you're looking at these, it's like, have you seen this before? And you saw it against Alabama a few years back, although they did recover from that pretty nicely within a couple of years. So there's your bright spot, I guess. There's the 66-3 Alabama game that people talk about from the late 70s. This was just another one of those, but they've had several of these where they just got the brakes beat off them by a national title contending type team. SMU in 1990, when SMU was just coming back from the death penalty and playing walk-ons all over the place. But to me, ETSU was the one that you could, and I guess it's sort of up there with SMU, but that's the one that's like, oh, that's a bridge that had been crossed. So to me, that's still the worst. And unfortunately,
that's low.
It's hard to get out of that. I think if they don't lose the ETSU game, everything feels different, right? You're going, it's a bad team, but you don't have that one to still talk about.
Yeah, true. 100%. Like if we win ETSU, then Colorado State, and then lose this game, we're still 2-1, and we've just played one of the best teams in the country. Yeah, we got smacked, but then we go into Connecticut with a chance to go, 3 wins. It changes the whole mindset of the season. But that's a good point. Losing by 20 to an FCS school, that was a new one. I mean, Chris, there had to have been less than 2,000 Vanderbilt fans here in the stadium. It was something I'd never seen before in person.
Somebody sent me an estimate of about 6,000. A buddy of mine, it's Anthony Dasher.
It's probably more realistic.
Yeah. But, I mean, I've seen they've had these, like, you go back, the year that Tennessee won the national title, you would have been too young to remember, or maybe weren't even alive. But that was, Tennessee, from my understanding, I wasn't there in the stadium, but, that place was packed, and there might not have been more than 4,000 or 5,000 Vandy fans there. So, like, at least today there were some empty seats that could have been Georgia fans, but I've seen it worse. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, at this point, we're splitting hairs. When you're having these conversations about the worst and it's involving Vanderbilt football, that's just not a place you want to be.
Absolutely. I think that's I think that's about it. That wraps it up. Something I do notice is that Coach Lee's been getting into guys more, which is something he was, whether it's rightly or wrongly, it was something that was highlighted from the first game, his sort of stoic mindset. The dude's been getting into guys for making, pretty blatant mistakes. So take that with what you will. I think it's a good thing, but this is the infinite rebuild process, and we're on step one. So
let's get out of here and watch other football.
Sounds good.
All right. He's Bruno Reagan. I'm Chris Lee. We're both of VandySports.com. Thanks for watching our post-game show following Georgia's 62-0 win over Vanderbilt.